Welcome. There is nothing you need to do right now. No effort, no rushing. Only this quiet moment and the soft space around you. Take a slow breath in and let it fall out naturally. The day is finished. Whatever happened earlier can rest now. Your shoulders soften. Your face relaxes. Your thoughts can slow, like clouds drifting across a night sky. And as everything settles, a story can begin. A story from long ago. A familiar tale, told gently, told slowly, designed only for rest. This is the story of Sleeping Beauty, not as something dramatic, not as something sharp, but as a calm dream, a quiet journey, a soft unfolding. Long ago, in a peaceful kingdom, far from noise, far from hurry, there stood a castle, not loud, not busy, just still. The castle rested on a hill, surrounded by tall trees and winding paths, and gardens that moved gently with the evening air. Inside, warm lantern light glowed softly. The stone halls were quiet. The curtains stirred only slightly. Everything felt calm, safe, steady. In this kingdom, there was a king and queen, kind and gentle, who had wished for one thing for many years, a child. And one evening, after a long time of waiting, their wish finally arrived. A baby girl was born, small, peaceful, wrapped in soft cloth, her breathing quiet, her presence gentle. The kingdom celebrated, not with chaos, but with joy that felt warm and calm, like candlelight in the dark. Bells rang softly. Flowers were placed along the castle halls, and the air seemed filled with something tender, something hopeful. The king and queen named her Aurora, a name like morning light, a name like softness returning after night. And as she slept in her cradle, the whole castle seemed to slow, as if honoring her rest. Soon, a great gathering was planned, not a loud feast, but a peaceful celebration, a ceremony, a blessing. For in this kingdom, there were fairies, gentle beings, wise and quiet, who carried gifts not of gold, but of kindness. And on the day of the blessing, they would come, one by one, to offer something beautiful to the child. And the story, slowly, begins. Pause. Breathe. The castle is calm. The night is steady. And Aurora sleeps, softly, as the kingdom waits in stillness for what comes next. The day of the blessing arrived, softly, not with noise, not with urgency, but with quiet warmth. Morning light filtered through the tall castle windows, slow and golden, touching the stone floors and the gentle fabric of curtains, moving just slightly. The castle felt peaceful, like it was breathing, slowly, with the kingdom. In the great hall, everything had been prepared. Flowers rested in simple arrangements. Candles glowed with steady light. The air smelled faintly of roses and clean, summer wind. No one hurried. No one rushed. Even footsteps were quiet, as if the entire castle wished to protect something delicate. The baby Princess Aurora was carried into the hall, wrapped in soft blankets. Sleepy, calm, safe. Her eyes blinked slowly, as though she was still halfway inside a dream. The king and queen stood beside her, their faces gentle, their hearts full. And then, the fairies arrived, one by one, silent as drifting mist. They entered the hall. They were not loud creatures, not sharp, not dramatic. They moved like calm evening air, and their presence felt soothing, like lullabies without music. The first fairy stepped forward. She looked down at the child and smiled softly, and in a voice like warm light, she offered her gift. "May you grow with kindness," she whispered. "A heart gentle and steady. A spirit that brings peace wherever you go. A soft blessing, like a feather settling." The second fairy followed. Her eyes were calm, and her hands rested lightly at her sides. She spoke slowly, as though every word was meant to soothe. "May you carry grace," she said. "May your life unfold like a quiet garden, beautiful, natural, and safe." Aurora stirred slightly, then relaxed again. The hall remained still. The third fairy approached, and the air seemed to soften even more. She leaned close and offered her gift like a secret meant only for peace. "May you always be protected, not by walls, but by love. May rest always find you. May comfort always return." Each blessing felt like another warm blanket, laid gently over the child. The king and queen listened, breathing slowly, filled with gratitude. The kingdom felt held, as if nothing could disturb this quiet moment. And then, another fairy stepped forward, and another, each one offering something gentle, something calm, something good. Not loud magic, but peaceful gifts, patience, joy, soft strength, a life surrounded by care. The ceremony continued, slowly, like a dream moving through candlelight. And outside, the trees swayed quietly, the birds sang faintly, the world stayed gentle. Aurora's breathing remained soft, her tiny chest rising and falling, steady, natural, safe. For a time, everything was perfect. Just warmth, just stillness, just blessing. And yet, far in the shadows, something unseen waited. Not yet, not suddenly, but quietly, at the edge of the story. For every peaceful tale has a deeper hush beneath it, and the next moment will bring something new. But for now, the hall remains calm. The candles glow steadily. Aurora rests, softly, and the story continues. The day of the blessing arrived, softly, not with noise, not with urgency, but with quiet warmth. Morning light filtered through the tall castle windows, slow and golden, touching the stone floors and the gentle fabric of curtains, moving just slightly. The castle felt peaceful, like it was breathing, slowly, with the kingdom. In the great hall, everything had been prepared. Flowers rested in simple arrangements. Candles glowed with steady light. The air smelled faintly of roses and clean summer wind. No one hurried. No one rushed. Even footsteps were quiet, as if the entire castle wished to protect something delicate. The baby Princess Aurora was carried into the hall, wrapped in soft blankets, sleepy, calm, safe. Her eyes blinked slowly, as though she was still halfway inside a dream. The king and queen stood beside her, their faces gentle, their hearts full. And then, the fairies arrived, one by one, silent as drifting mist. They entered the hall. They were not loud creatures, not sharp, not dramatic. They moved like calm evening air, and their presence felt soothing, like lullabies without music. The first fairy stepped forward. She looked down at the child and smiled softly, and in a voice like warm light, she offered her gift. "May you grow with kindness," she whispered. "A heart gentle and steady, a spirit that brings peace wherever you go. A soft blessing, like a feather settling." The second fairy followed. Her eyes were calm, and her hands rested lightly at her sides. She spoke slowly, as though every word was meant to soothe. "May you carry grace," she said. "May your life unfold like a quiet garden, beautiful, natural, and safe." Aurora stirred slightly, then relaxed again. The hall remained still. The third fairy approached, and the air seemed to soften even more. She leaned close and offered her gift like a secret meant only for peace. "May you always be protected, not by walls, but by love. May rest always find you. May comfort always return." Each blessing felt like another warm blanket, laid gently over the child. The king and queen listened, breathing slowly, filled with gratitude. The kingdom felt held, as if nothing could disturb this quiet moment. And then, another fairy stepped forward, and another, each one offering something gentle, something calm, something good. Not loud magic, but peaceful gifts. Patience, joy, soft strength, a life surrounded by care. The ceremony continued, slowly, like a dream moving through candlelight. And outside, the trees swayed quietly, the birds sang faintly, the world stayed gentle. Aurora's breathing remained soft, her tiny chest rising and falling, steady, natural, safe. For time, everything was perfect, just warmth, just stillness, just blessing. And yet, far in the shadows, something unseen waited. Not yet, not suddenly, but quietly, at the edge of the story. For every peaceful tale has a deeper hush beneath it, and the next moment will bring something new. But for now, the hall remains calm. The candles glow steadily. Aurora rests softly, and the story continues. After Maleficent disappeared, the hall remained still. No one spoke at first. The candles continued to burn, softly, as though nothing had happened. And yet, everything had changed. The king stood silent. The queen held Aurora close, as if her arms could block the future. The fairies remained nearby, their faces calm, but their eyes thoughtful. The curse was not loud. It was not immediate. It was something distant, something waiting, like a shadow far down the road. The king finally spoke. His voice was low, steady. "We will not allow this." The words were simple, firm, a promise. The queen nodded gently. Her breath was slow, but her heart was heavy. Aurora still slept peacefully, unaware of the story that had begun around her. The fairies stepped forward. One of them spoke softly. "There may still be a way. A curse spoken can sometimes be softened," another murmured. "Not erased, not forgotten, but changed." The king looked toward them. "Then we must do everything, to protect her." And so, the decision was made, quietly, completely. Across the kingdom, an order was given. Not shouted, not dramatic, just carried gently, from castle to village, from street to home. All spinning wheels were to be removed, all needles, all spindles, all thread, anything that could resemble what Maleficent had named. The sound of spinning would disappear from the land. The people obeyed, not in panic, but in care. Women wrapped their tools away. Old wheels were carried out, slowly, as though handling something fragile. Fires were lit, wood cracked softly, and one by one, the spinning wheels were burned, not with anger, but with hope, with quiet determination. The king watched from the castle window. The smoke rose into the evening sky, thin, pale, like prayer. And the queen remained beside Aurora, rocking gently, as if the rhythm of love could outlast the rhythm of fate. The years began to pass, not quickly, not sharply, but slowly, softly, like seasons turning without force. Aurora grew, a child, at first, laughing in gardens, running in sunlight, her voice light as wind. She did not know of curses. She did not know of spindles. She only knew warmth, trees, songs, peace, and still. The fairies watched, always, quietly. They stayed near, not hovering, not controlling, just present, like gentle guardians in the background of a dream. They spoke to each other at night. She must never find one. One whispered. She must never touch it. Another replied. And the third fairy, the kindest, looked toward the sleeping princess and sighed softly. We will keep her safe. We will. Because time was moving, slowly, steadily, toward the 16th year, and the kingdom held its breath. Not every day, not every moment, but deep inside, like a distant bell waiting to ring. The curse was still out there, not acting, not rushing, just waiting. And the king, and queen, and fairies continued living, continued loving, continued hoping, because sometimes the greatest protection is the quiet decision to keep going, to keep caring, to keep light alive, even when the forest grows deeper ahead. Aurora slept each night peaceful, safe, wrapped in innocence. And the story moved forward softly into the next chapter. The years continued to move, slowly, gently, like leaves drifting down in autumn. Aurora grew, surrounded by peace. Not the loud peace of celebration, but the quiet peace of ordinary days. Mornings arrived softly in the kingdom. Sunlight spilled across gardens. Birds sang gently in the trees. The castle halls remained calm, and Aurora's laughter became a familiar sound. Light, warm, simple. She wandered through courtyards filled with flowers. She listened to fountains that whispered endlessly. She watched clouds move across the sky, slow and steady. Aurora was kind by nature, not because she had been told to be, but because gentleness lived easily in her. She spoke softly. She moved calmly. She carried a warmth that made others feel at ease. The fairies watched her closely, always, quietly. They stayed near as invisible guardians, not controlling, not fearful, only protective. They wanted her life to remain simple. They wanted her days to pass without shadow. And for many years, they did. Aurora knew nothing of curses, nothing of spinning wheels, nothing of the dark figure who had once entered the hall. She only knew forests and gardens, soft music, and evening skies. And as she neared her 16th birthday, the kingdom began to prepare quietly, not with loud announcements, but with gentle anticipation. The king and queen wished to celebrate, not extravagantly, only lovingly. They wanted the day to be joyful, warm, safe. The fairies, however, felt the weight of time. They spoke in hushed voices. It is close, one whispered. The day is near, another replied. But Aurora continued living peacefully. One afternoon, she wandered beyond the castle grounds, into the forest nearby. The trees were tall and calm. The air was cool and clean. Sunlight filtered through branches, painting soft patterns on the earth. Aurora walked slowly along a narrow path. She was not lost. She was simply drifting, listening, breathing. The forest felt like a dream. Everything quiet, everything steady. Her footsteps made almost no sound, and she smiled softly, as if the world was gentle enough to belong to her. A small brook murmured nearby. Leaves rustled faintly. Even the wind was calm. Aurora paused in a clearing and looked upward. The sky was wide. The moment was still. And for the briefest time, everything felt timeless, as if nothing could disturb this peace. But somewhere, deep within the castle walls, something old remained hidden. A forgotten room, a quiet staircase, a place untouched by time, waiting, not rushing, not loud, only waiting. The fairies did not know that the kingdom could not burn every spindle. They did not know that destiny has a way of finding silence. Aurora's birthday approached. The 16th year arrived, softly, like a shadow stretching at sunset. And the story moved forward, gently, toward the moment that had been spoken long ago. On the morning of her 16th birthday, the castle felt warm and bright. Sunlight touched the stone walls softly. Flowers filled the halls with gentle color. Voices moved through rooms in calm celebration. The king and queen smiled often. They wanted this day to feel light, joyful, safe. Aurora walked through the castle slowly, greeting servants, accepting small wishes, smiling with quiet grace. She did not know why everyone watched her so carefully. She did not know the weight carried in the hearts of others. To her, it was simply a beautiful day. The fairies stayed near, their attention sharp beneath their calm. They guided her gently. They kept her close. They did not wish her to wander. But as the afternoon softened, as the castle grew quieter, Aurora found herself alone for a moment. Not lonely, just alone. A pause between celebrations, a quiet breath in the day. She wandered down a hallway she had never noticed before. The corridor was dimmer here, the air cooler. The castle seemed older, more silent. The sound of voices faded behind her. Aurora walked slowly, curious but calm. At the end of the hallway, she noticed a narrow door, not grand, not guarded, just a small wooden door resting quietly in the stone. She paused. The castle felt still. The moment felt dreamlike, and without urgency, without thought, she placed her hand on the handle. The door opened with the softest creak. Inside was a staircase, spiraling upward into silence. Aurora stepped forward. Her footsteps were light on the stone. Up and up and up, as if she were climbing into a forgotten part of a dream. The air grew cooler. The light dimmed. Everything was quiet. No voices, no music. Only the gentle sound of her breath and the slow rhythm of climbing. At the top, another small door waited. Aurora reached it and pushed it open softly. She entered a hidden room, a small tower chamber, untouched and still. Sunlight streamed faintly through a high window. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. And there, in the corner, was something strange. A spinning wheel, old, silent, forgotten. Aurora had never seen such a thing before. She approached slowly, not afraid, only curious. The wheel seemed harmless, like an object from another time, as if it had been waiting, quietly, for many years. Aurora lifted her hand gently, drawn by nothing but quiet wonder. The room held its breath. The castle below was silent, and the story moved toward the moment that had been whispered long ago. Aurora stood before the spinning wheel, her breathing slow, her eyes calm with curiosity. She reached out softly, as though touching something delicate, something unreal. Her fingers brushed the spindle, a small motion, a quiet moment. And then, everything slowed, not with pain, not with fear, only with softness. Aurora's eyes blinked once, then again, as if the room itself had become heavier, as if the air had turned into velvet. Her body swayed gently. The spinning wheel remained still. The tower chamber stayed silent. And Aurora began to feel tired. Not suddenly, not sharply, but the way sleep arrives at night. Quietly, inevitably, without resistance. Her eyelids grew heavy. Her shoulders softened. The world around her began to fade at the edges. Aurora took one slow breath in and let it out. Another breath, and another. The floor beneath her felt distant. The light through the window grew softer. Dust floated in the air like small stars, drifting slowly, without urgency. Aurora lowered herself gently to the ground, not falling, only resting. Her head leaned against the cool stone wall. Her hands relaxed in her lap. Her breathing became deep and steady, and she slipped into sleep. A sleep unlike ordinary sleep, a sleep that wrapped her completely. Down in the castle, the fairies почувствовали el cambio. They paused. They turned. They knew. Footsteps moved quickly through halls, not loud, but urgent in silence. The king and queen searched. Voices called softly. Doors opened. Stairs were climbed. And at last, they found her. Aurora, resting peacefully, as though she were only dreaming. Her face was calm, her breath slow. She looked as if she had entered the gentlest night. The queen knelt beside her. Tears formed quietly, not from fear, but from love. The king held her hand. The fairies stood near, their expressions tender. One fairy whispered softly, "She is asleep, but she is safe." Another nodded. "This is not an end. It is only a waiting." And in that moment, the castle itself began to grow quiet. The fairies raised their hands, not in panic, but with calm purpose. They spoke gentle spells, not of darkness, but of rest. If Aurora must sleep, then the kingdom would sleep with her, so she would not be alone. So the waiting would be peaceful, and slowly, room by room, hall by hall, the castle softened into stillness. Guards leaned against walls and slept. Servants sat down quietly and slept. The candles dimmed. The music stopped. The world held its breath and then released it. The entire castle drifted into a deep, gentle rest, wrapped in silence, wrapped in time. Aurora slept safe and calm in the heart of the tower. And outside the forest stood quietly around the castle like a guardian, as the kingdom entered a long, peaceful dream. The castle became completely still, not empty, only resting. Every hall softened into silence. Every room held the quiet of deep night. Candles flickered low, then steadied, their light warm but dim. Curtains hung motionless. The air itself seemed quiet. Aurora slept peacefully in the tower, her breathing slow, deep, untroubled. The king and queen rested nearby, as if love could keep watch even in sleep. The fairies remained awake for a moment longer. They walked slowly through the castle halls, their footsteps barely a sound. They looked at the sleeping kingdom, and their hearts were gentle. "This will be peaceful," one whispered. "This will be safe," said another. No one would grow old in waiting. No one would suffer alone. The kingdom would rest, until the right moment came. Outside, the night stretched wide. The moon rose slowly above the forest. Silver light touched the treetops, soft and calm. The world beyond the castle continued, but quietly, as if respecting the deep stillness within. And then, something began to grow. Not suddenly, not violently, only gently. A hedge of vines, soft green branches, winding slowly around the castle walls. Not as a prison, but as a quiet boundary. Like nature placing a curtain, like the forest drawing a blanket close. Thorns appeared, but even they seemed softened by moonlight. The castle disappeared slowly into the embrace of trees. Years passed, not with noise, but with silence. Seasons came and went. Spring flowers bloomed in the forest and fell. Summer warmth touched the leaves and faded. Autumn painted the ground in gold. Then winter covered it softly again. The sleeping castle remained unchanged, a still place in the middle of time. Birds nested in branches near the towers. Owls watched quietly from afar. The wind moved gently through vines, a slow lullaby. No footsteps entered, no voices disturbed. Only nature, only quiet, only rest. And deep inside, Aurora continued sleeping, as peacefully as the first moment. A dream held in stillness, a kingdom held in calm. Everything waiting, not with urgency, but with patience. As if time itself had slowed to match the rhythm of sleep. And the forest stood around it all, tall, silent, protective. Until one day, far in the distance, another presence would arrive. Not yet. Not now. For now, only stillness remains. Only the castle sleeping, softly, beneath the stars. Far beyond the forest, time continued its slow journey. The world changed quietly. New seasons came. New winds passed through distant trees. And still, the castle slept. A peaceful place hidden beneath vines, resting in silence. Until one evening, a traveler arrived. Not with loud footsteps. Not with shouting. Only a quiet presence at the edge of the forest. A young prince, drawn not by conquest, but by curiosity. By the feeling that something gentle was waiting. He walked slowly through the trees, beneath moonlight, following a narrow path that seemed almost forgotten. The forest did not resist him. The vines did not fight. They parted softly, as if the world itself understood that the time had come. He reached the castle gates and stepped inside. Everything was still. Dust floated like stars in dim light. Guards slept peacefully where they stood. The halls held silence like a dream. The prince moved gently, not wanting to disturb the calm. He climbed staircases slowly, guided by something quiet, something unseen. And at last, he reached the tower. He opened the door. Inside, Aurora rested, her face peaceful, her breathing slow, as if she were simply dreaming of morning. The prince stepped closer, and for a moment, everything paused. The story did not rush. The world did not shout. Only softness remained. He leaned down and placed the gentlest kiss upon her forehead. Not dramatic, not loud, only kind. And as if a candle were being lit, Aurora's eyelids fluttered. Slowly, she opened her eyes. Not in fear, not in surprise, only calm awareness, as though waking from the most restful sleep. The curse dissolved like mist. The waiting ended like night turning into dawn. In the halls below, the castle began to stir. Servants blinked awake. Candles brightened. The kingdom returned, not with chaos, but with gentle life. The king and queen awoke and found their daughter safe. Tears fell softly, smiles appeared slowly, and joy filled the castle, quiet and warm, like sunlight after rain. Aurora stood once more in the world, kind, gentle, unchanged in her heart, and the forest outside remained calm, as if it had been guarding the dream all along. The story, at last, came to peace. And now, there is nothing more you need to follow. Nothing more you need to imagine. Only rest. Only the softness of quiet breathing. In and out. Slowly, comfortably. The castle sleeps no longer, but you may. You may drift gently into your own deep, peaceful sleep. Good night.